The Magpies started the last home and away round just behind Norwood on percentage. Losing 2 games in the middle of the year by just 1 point came back to haunt coach Mark Clayton. The double chance was agonisingly out of reach. The road through the finals was made all the more difficult for Port, with 2 of their star players forced to sit out the first week. Jack Cooper was found guilty of kneeing to the body when he got a little hot under the collar after being tackled high. And Major Leonard from the Marble Range Football Club lost 2 games for a high elbow, reduced to 1 after his guilty plea. It wasn't all bad news for Port though. After all, they did win. Best by far was Ben Bioli from the Gaza Football Club. The gutsy under-16 worked hard up at full forward and kicked a very handy 7 goals, taking his tally to 32 for the season. And kicking just his first goal for the under-18s was 16-year-old Luke Partington from Tumby Bay. Luke played 6 matches with the under-16s earlier in the year, and he was among the best on all but one occasion. 26 disposals for Luke and a good all-round performance. For the Tigers, Cameron McPherson was good across the midfield. Cameron played in the 2012 under-16 grand final, narrowly losing to the Redlegs. This year he's played 16 under-18 games, and despite losing, this was one of his best, with 17 disposals and 2 goals to his name. And in his 11th game for the Tigers, Ned Brooks from the Southern Football League worked hard for his 17 possessions. This is Ned's first season at the Bay, and judging by his performances, it might not be his last. Port Adelaide might well feel aggrieved over last week's scoring controversy at the Norwood Oval. If the young goal umpires had correctly attributed 5 first-half goals to the Eagles, then the Magpies would have been playing in the qualifying final this weekend. But instead, it's the long way to the top for Port, winners by 51 points in round 23. At the Elizabeth Ovals, the Bulldogs just had to win to avoid successive wooden spoons, and up to half-time you might have thought they were in with a chance, but Sturt had a gaggle of quality players in the field. Former rugby player Jared Dooney from Pembroke was excellent with a bag of goals, as was James Rose from Scotch College up front with no less than 7 goals. Josh Hone rounded out his 20th match for the season in style. After a slow start, he found top gear in the second half and ended up leading Sturt's disposal count with 29. And some of the young guns had a chance to show off too. One of them was 16-year-old Campbell Wildman from PAC, a member of Sturt's under-16 squad and state under-16 team. Campbell played out the last minor round across half-back. His defensive work was outstanding, with 5 rebound 50s for the match. And tall man Sam Ferraro took a while to decide that Sturt was his home, having bounced around the Hills Football League for a season or 2, winning the Senior Colts medal with the Onkaparinga Valley Football Club. Sam has finally settled into Sturt, and he's quickly found his rhythm with 30 hitouts last Saturday. At half-time, the Bulldogs were actually up by 5 points. This was going to be a thriller, except that Sturt scored 15 goals to Central's 1 in the second half. Still, Central coach Matt Creed can take heart from some good efforts throughout the year. In round 23, Josh Banks was strong with 28 possessions and 9 uncontested marks. And finishing the season on a high was Joel Foster, who ran hard all day across the middle of the park. Joel led the Dogs' disposal count for the day with 29, which was equal to Sturt's best in Josh Hone. Definitely a game of 2 halves. The Dogs claim the wooden spoon. The Double Blues enter the finals race, winners by 84 points. On paper, this was the match of the round. The Redlegs were coming off 12 straight wins, with the Roosters well rested after the bye. The last time these 2 teams met back in round 6, North took home the spoils, winners by 4 goals. The Roosters were very well served by young Ryan Burton from Sacred Heart College. Ryan was part of the state under-16 squad this year, and this was just his 2nd game at this level. It didn't take him long to acclimatise with 7 goals by the time the siren sounded. Son of North Adelaide Premiership forward Craig Burton, Ryan will have no trouble looking after the Burton name. Another youngster shining for North, this time from Prince Alfred College, was Harry Wigg. Just finishing year 11, this was Harry's 4th game this year, and he was rewarded for his efforts with a goal right at the end of the first quarter. Playing reserves football for most of the year, Campbell Coombe played his first under-18 game last Saturday. He's yet another PAC student, and he made the midfield his own at the Prospect Oval with 10 clearances and 5 inside 50s. Norwood tried hard through Ryan Reevely and Nick Pancini, but in the Premiership quarter they only managed 1 point, while North piled on 7 goals. Nathan Sermon spent the college season with Ross Trevor College, but he was on hand to slot through 3 goals for the Redlegs in round 23. His Ross Trevor teammate Cameron Tiggerman also bagged 3 goals from 7 kicks in his 9th appearance for Norwood. And so North get the first week of the finals off, while Norwood replay round 22 against the Eagles in the qualifying final. North Adelaide by 52 points. Not much was riding on the league or reserves match last week for Westies, and so much of their under-18 players were shunted upwards, leaving the under-18 side manned by youngsters simply enjoying a run around the Woodville Oval. The Eagles sent 4 or 5 players upwards too, and some were allowed to play for their local teams in grand finals, but they still had a good win, and perhaps it should have been even better after they took 46 inside 50 marks, bettering their previous best by 14. Some of the regularly noteworthy youngsters were Daniel Minnie with his 18th showing for the Eagles, Jack Gaffney with 21 possessions and 6 inside 50s, Isaiah Blumson, who didn't miss a single match for the year, and Lockie Hall, who only missed one. These guys stepped up, created chances and worked as a team, proving that the Eagles will be a force for many years to come. Another youngster was Daniel Polanski from the Seaton Ramblers Football Club. Daniel played a half a dozen games for the under-16s, scoring 8 goals earlier in the year, and he notched up another 4 in this game, taking his tally to 14. And Jack Hayes at half-forward rounded out the list for the Eagles. The 17-year-old is from the BSR Tigers, that's Brinkworth Spalding Red Hill in South Australia's mid-north. Jack led the possession count across all clubs this week with 34 possessions and 17 marks. Westies' best were Josh Albanese with 3 goals and Riley Bonner in just his second game for the under-18s. From the Goodwood Football Club, Riley played well across the back, bringing the Bloods out of defence 9 times. But in a game that had little significance for either team, it was the Eagles that came out on top, big winners by 98 points.